Path of Exile 2 changed too fast, and I realize that now more than ever after playing through Diablo 2 Resurrected for the very first time, and then returning to Path of Exile 1 for 3.28 Mirage and blasting it all the way to 36 challenges. I'm probably going to release a greater video essay on my main channel. If you haven't subscribed to my second channel, subscribe right now, by the way, in good time, comparing and contrasting these thoughts. But I thought I'd put out one immediately after I finished PoE 1 for the League. I ran through it pretty fast, and I realized that the game, at least for me, has devolved into that one-click ultra juice simulator. That's what they are truly investing into, what their dedicated player base really knows and loves right now. And while that is fun for a time for me and way more fun to a lot more people for far longer, I am a tad scared of what might happen to Path of Exile 2, the other game they're developing, and how rapidly they've changed the game since its early access launch just over a year ago in December of 2024. And here's what I mean. So as I just mentioned, I played through Diablo 2 for the very first time. I played it when I was a child, got all the way out to Duriel. I have memories of just getting absolutely hammered on a necromancer and not progressing any further than that. Well, I played through the whole game by myself, using the warlock. Yeah, I was cheating a little bit and had a blast. And I noticed a few key things about that game that I really enjoyed going through it, that I also noticed in the launch Path of Exile 2 version that we played for a couple weeks before Grinding Your Game started making drastic changes. And every patch since, they've been making even bigger and bigger changes, moving away from that initial direction. In this video, I'm going to focus on one in particular, and feel free to disagree with me in the comments below. I'd like to see some debate, and like I said, I'll have a far better structured video essay out on this on my main channel after I've thought about everything a little bit more. In Diablo 2 Resurrected, I went through the entire campaign in normal mode, of course. I didn't play Nightmare in Hell yet, and I found 3 unique items and maybe 9 or 10 rare items. I finished Act 1 with no rings. I finished Act 1 finding 1 rare item. I finished the game with magic items equipped and rare items equipped. Every time I found a rare item, I was excited. I looked through my gear. I tried to figure out if I could shuffle around things to make this work, if it was worthwhile, if perhaps I should save it for another character. And I'd imagine if I was participating in trade, maybe I would look to see if I should sell it. Obviously, I think people who know Diablo 2 way better probably know that a lot of the rares I got were trash, but still, from my perspective, it was awesome that I was seldomly seeing rare items. They were actually rare. And every time I found one, I was excited. Same with uniques. And that feeling was also true in Path of Exile 2. You were finding rare items scarcely upon release in the campaign. It was an exciting thing when you saw one in a shop, when a boss dropped one, when you randomly got one from a monster. That was an exciting moment, and you thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to make this work in my build? Should I shift around something? And the same can also be said for certain gear slots. As I mentioned, I didn't have rings in the first act of Diablo 2. Of course, I saw some in the shop. I could have saved up gold to buy them. I could have got a lucky drop, but I didn't have any. That also happened in Path of Exile 2. I remember going through Act 1 and barely having gear scraped together. I don't think I had amulet. I think I had 1 ring during my first playthrough of Path of Exile 2 by the end of Act 1 going into Act 2. And that was an awesome feeling on my first character. It really evoked that feeling that you were moving through this dangerous, scary world and building up your power. And of course, by the time you hit the end of the campaign and get into endgame, you'll have all your gear slots and you'll start finding lots more rare items, and you'll start cycling through items more and caring less and less about rare items. Of course, that's going to happen. And I'm sure the same happens in Diablo 2. But that wasn't what was initially happening in Path of Exile 2 in the campaign, and I really, really enjoyed that. And they quickly made patches addressing this. They gave greater access to rare items. Way more items drop on the ground now. You are constantly being hammered with rares. You see them in the shop, and it multiplies almost exponentially as you move toward the end game. And alongside this, they also nerfed the difficulty of not only monsters, rares, magic, normal monsters, which in some scenarios it was warranted. They also nerfed the difficulty of the bosses in the acts so that they're jokes now. Geonor was a real challenge in 0.1. It was awesome. In 0.2, he was a challenge as well. He's no longer a challenge. He's a joke. Most bosses are a joke in Path of Exile 2 now. I'd argue that Tavakai was never a real challenge in Path of Exile 2. If you are at all experienced in ARPGs, or if you have some luck, or are over-leveled, these bosses aren't challenging, and I really missed that. I experienced this challenge in Diablo 2, and it was quite fun. Now, I've been talking a lot about Diablo 2 and Path of Exile 2 and the initial launch feeling of items in Path of Exile 2 and how items felt in Diablo 2. Now let's go to Path of Exile 1, which I just finished playing for. The patch is now 2 weeks old. It's Mirage League. I enjoyed it, but that enjoyment was very short. I played DGen one day. I think I played for like 10 hours. My family was gone. I was not feeling well. And I already have all 36 challenges. I have the challenge set. Love it. Enjoyed the league, but at 20 challenges, I was already like, I don't even want to play. I'm just doing this literally for the cosmetics. I'm not really having fun anymore. I was having fun up until then, but now I have 16 challenges to go. How do I get these challenges done as soon as possible? And I realized why. I was being, as someone who is not chasing for the very cool new Screams of the Desiccated, Echoing Shrine Resistance belts, or a Mage Blood, or all these other top tier trace items, and I'm not min-maxing my builds. I got very powerful very fast in Path of Exile 1 with very little effort. I'm talking about maybe 15 hours in, I was doing not T17s, nightmare maps. I could do nightmare maps. I couldn't do Ubers, but I could tank everything in the game with my build. I could kill everything in the game with my build. You know, I'd click once and everything would blow up, and I didn't even have strong items. And from the very beginning of the game, you are getting giant loot pops of items, tons of rares, just inundated with them, just flying at you. And it's so much. It's so different. You're just showered in all these items, and I don't know. The feeling it instilled in me just... it wasn't fun. There was no chase for me personally. I guess since I'm not min-maxing, I hit that ceiling far faster, I feel, in Path of Exile 1 compared to like Diablo 2 or Path of Exile 2 kind of right now. In Path of Exile 2, that ceiling, the difficulty of the game versus how fast your character is progressing, it's moving in the Path of Exile 1 direction. I think that's a shame. It is. I really think that grinding your games should not slow down in the changes that they're doing. They should slow down in how quickly they're making Path of Exile 2 like Path of Exile 1 and going away from the initial DNA that they had with Path of Exile 2. And one of the big reasons why they split out PoE 2 from PoE 1. Games, they shouldn't keep making them more and more similar. And I think just loot and character progression and ease of the game due to that fast progression is a great example of that I just recently experienced, going from Path of Exile 2 to Diablo 2 to Path of Exile 1 and playing all these back to back and back and having these experiences. I also just want to throw this in there. They are definitely double downing in pleasing the veteran players of Path of Exile 1. You can see this. People are calling this the best league ever, the most fun they've had in Path of Exile of all time. And if you look at what's happening here, juicing is to the extreme, the number of chase items is to the extreme, the amount of different possibilities you can have in your character, the min-maxing to the extreme. I, a non-juicer, can juice my maps with ease. I took a look at a few juicers and their maps and what's happening. Giant pops, thousands upon thousands of monsters. This is exactly what these players really are seeking. And I hope that they don't take Path of Exile 2 in this direction. I am so anxious to see what they do with 0.5 and this endgame revamp, and if it's really just gonna go more in the Path of Exile 1 direction or what. It'll be interesting to see. Anyway, just wanted to get this little rambling out there. Let me know in the comments if you have similar thoughts to me. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you did. Hit the like button. Really appreciate it, you guys. Trying to pick up this second channel a little bit so I can put out some content that is not as well thought out as my usual stuff, but decent nonetheless. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Stay sane.